with Rob, where take a drive with me, Rob. We ride in the car together. Hence the title, Riding with Rob. So we ride together. So ignition systems is what we're talking about today, and I want to say it's probably one of the easiest systems to modify on your car, and also probably the system that's either most overlooked or overdone. Oh, traffic! So, why is it a system that's overlooked a lot? Well, because a lot of people will say, well, you don't really gain a lot of horsepower from modifying your ignition system, and you know what? They're actually kind of right. You don't gain a lot of horsepower from modifying your ignition system. Instead, you create a smoother power band. Let me through. And what I mean by smoother power band is that you are going to be able to get the cleanest burn from your engine based on how good of a spark that you get. Now, the way an engine works is it's not little explosions, but little, quick burns of that gas and air mixture inside the combustion chamber. Now, if you have a weak spark, it's not going to ignite all of the gas mixture, and it's not going to be a very smooth power band. Now, if you have a very strong spark, that entire mixture is going to get lit, and you're going to get the best burn possible. So an ignition system is something that's really good to upgrade, but something that you don't always need to go overboard with. Now, it all depends on what ignition system your stock car came with. Now, there's three major types. You've got your distributor engines, your coil pack engines, or distributorless, and your coil over plug. So let's start with the last one there, coil over plug, because that's really the easiest to modify. There's not a whole lot you need to do. A coil over plug system is probably the best ignition system there is on the market. Now, a tuning computer will definitely make that system just slightly better, but really that's as good as it's going to get. So the only thing you really would want to or need to modify on a coil over plug system is going to a better spark plug, something with a harder metal with a different heat range in it. Now, what that means is you've got a copper spark plug, or a copper spark plug in your car already. Okay, and copper is kind of a weaker metal. It's going to get hotter because it's not as thick or it's not as strong as some of these other metals. So upgrading your copper to a platinum or an iridium plug, those metals are not going to get as hot, and they're going to stay cooler. Now, the reason why that's even important is because when the metal gets hotter, so like on your copper spark plug, it's harder for that spark to jump the gap because there's a little bit more resistance there. And with a cooler spark plug, it's much easier for the spark to continually jump that gap because there's not as much resistance. So this is why it's good to have, a better spark plug. Now, I'll go ahead and caution you guys about buying these plus 2s and plus 3s and plus 4s where it's got the multiple prongs on the spark plug. The whole purpose of that is so that the spark will jump to a different prong every time. Not exactly a necessity. Are they better than the single prong spark plug? Not really. Not really. I mean, it could be. It could potentially be better, but you're really not going to notice it in any way whatsoever. So, I mean, it's not really something that I would recommend you buy. But platinum and iridium are going to be your top two. Those are going to be the best spark plugs you can get. Iridium being number one, and then platinum, and so on and so forth. So your coil over ignition plugs, that's all you really are going to need or really want is a different spark plug with a different heat range to it. Now, the next type of ignition system I want to talk about is your distributorless engines, or your coil pack engines, where you've got your solid coil pack, you've got wires running to your spark plugs, good to go. Now, really all you really need to modify with these is, well, first your different spark plug, but then also you can put on the thicker wires from, MSD or NGK or, what have you. And really what all those all that really is going to do, the largest spark plug wires, is just going to create as little resistance as possible from your coil pack to your spark plug to give you as much, as best of a spark as you possibly get. This is why coil-over plug systems are very good, because there's no wire in between the coil pack and the actual spark plug. It just sits on top of the spark plug. So when you have a coil pack system, upgrading those wires is going to create the least amount of resistance and give you, therefore, the best spark. Now, another thing you can actually do to a lot of these cars is actually upgrade to a coil-over plug system. Now, it's not exactly cheap, but it is something that's very good to do. But like I said, something like that you're not really going to see a ton of horsepower out of. You're talking maybe 5 horsepower, but we're talking about this. What an ignition system really is going to do is smooth out that power band. So it's not, climbing up like this. And what I talk about when I say power band, if you ever looked at like a dyno sheet from a tuner's, you've got that little line that goes up and shows you your horsepower and all that. So if you ever go to a dyno, and it's kind of, rocky, maybe think about upgrading your ignition system to kind of smooth that power band out. Because a smoother power band is going to put more power, to the ground effectively, and actually make the car, faster. So that's really, the basis for modifying a coil-over plug, or not coil-over plug, a distributorless or coil pack engine. Now you really don't. If you have a coil pack, ignition system, unless you're, doing extreme modifications, going coil-over plug is not a necessity. The coil pack systems are very good, can handle very high horsepower. So, save your money as far as that goes. You can put in a different coil pack even. I know, like, MSD makes them. And so those are good, and an ignition box is always good too. Now what the ignition box is going to do is it's going to create multi-sparks, and it's going to have capacitors that are going to charge up that spark, so you're going to get a bigger and more effective spark. So an ignition box is good too. So then your very last ignition system that I want to talk about today is your distributor engines. Now the reason why I saved this for last, because there's the most stuff to upgrade on a distributor engine. Because the distributors are, well, they're old school. It's kind of an old technology. So when you take a look at your distributor engine, there's a lot of different stuff you can upgrade. On the distributor itself, you can get a better cap that's going to have better points and places for your spark plug wires to plug into. You can get a better rotor that's going to have stronger metal that's going to, stay in a lower heat range and give you the best connection possible. You upgrade your spark plug wires just like on your distributorless engines, and your spark plugs just like on any ignition system. And then you also have an actual coil itself, and they kind of look like a little canister with a nipple on top, and it plugs into the very center of your distributor. Now, going to a different coil is going to give you a much better spark because of the internals of it, the different types of metals that they're going to use, and how much of the wiring and stuff. So you've got a wide range of upgrades. Now, switching over to a tuning computer with a distributor engine, you can actually end up going and upgrading all the way up to a coil-over plug system. Now, doing that on a distributor engine, you're going to see a good amount of gain out of it, as opposed to doing it on a coil pack system, because there's so much, resistance going from the coil to the distributor, to the spark plug wires, to the spark plugs. That's a lot of resistance. That's a lot of stuff for the electricity to have to flow through, versus having just a coil on top of the spark plug. Boom, there you go. So that's really ignition systems in a nutshell. If you're looking to upgrade your ignition system, I'd say go ahead and start with a spark plug and a spark plug wire combination, and that's really, for the most part, all you're going to need. With you guys with distributors, I would recommend looking into getting a tuning computer and upgrading to at least a coil pack system. Not necessarily, coil over plug, but at least a coil pack system. Or, the modifications for distributors are pretty cheap because they're old school and they've been around for a long time. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to just go ahead and upgrade everything: your cap, rotor, coil, plugs, and wires. You're going to get a decent amount of gain out of that, and it's going to give you a much cleaner and smoother power band than what you would have before. So let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below. If I forgot anything, missed anything, maybe I'm wrong, maybe disagree with me, maybe there's something you want me to go more in depth about, or another car part you want me to talk about. Just, you know, down below there, comment section, type it out. Good to go. While you're down there, hit like and subscribe because I'm awesome. And I'm Rob telling you to enjoy the drive.